Hello, my name is Omar Rampersad. It is May 21st, 2019 at 2:47 p.m. in Toronto. So I posted a video about the ongoing harassment in my building, and because I'm flagged, and it's all part of an experiment that's being run with an alert system and information being spread about you on a continuous basis. And I heard it's global. And people voting about what they want reported on you. And it's all a global experiment. So I went into details in the last video. I'm not going to repeat that. So I just wanted to make a comment about the changing um, world in which we live in much the same way that we are being instantly connected to each other via phone, via computer, and any other form of digital technology. Um, it is interesting to note that we already have the ability to connect to each other without the computer and without the phone and without the digital technology that we have right now. I listened to some of the videos that Deepak Chopra has posted at his talks in his center, in his wellness center, and I believe it's based in California. And I don't take everything um, as truths from anyone. I usually think about what they say and I make my own evaluations about what's said. And a lot of what Deepak Chopra says resonates as truths with me personally. And it's interesting um, that he pointed out in some of his videos that, at least my interpretation of what he said in some of the videos, was that the um, the digital technology that we are creating is just a reflection of what's already inside of our bodies. We have the capability of instantly connecting to people without the technology. So the next step is to eliminate the technology and to evolve to getting connected without a chip, without whatever the means of connection that's being developed right now. Technology is developing so fast. You really can't keep up with it. So let's talk about the chip, brain to brain technology. And I read that you don't really need a chip to communicate brain to brain. You can use a laser to affect your brain and communicate via lasers. So, but keep in mind that a laser really, or a chip, is really all about frequencies, as is any other digital technology. It's really all about technologies. So, excuse me, all about frequencies and the technologies that emanates from the technology. So our body are electrical. So we are in an electrical um, casing, I should say. I can't think of another word. There are currents that's flowing in our bodies, obviously, because everything is electrical in our nervous system. The communication, cell to cell communication, is carried out electric with electrical impulses. Um, So it's all about frequencies. It's all about varying the frequencies to convey certain messages. So if ourselves can communicate to each other without our awareness being on them, so can the body, so can the body communicate to another body. And we can come to the stage where we're not even aware of it, that there is communication. Um, we can do it telepathically. People with ESP has this ability with awareness. And it can become second nature, just like it's our nature to, second nature to pick up a phone and make a call. We can evolve, we can develop our own abilities to the point where instead of picking up a phone, we just mentally connect to somebody. But what was interesting about the way I understood in some, the content of some of these speeches was that the communication, the brain to brain communication and the ESP communication has to travel on the frequency of that that is consistent with the emotion of love, empathy. You have to feel, you have to feel, um, you have to empathize, I should say. You have to be connected emotionally to the person, or to the animal, or to a tree for that matter. Yes, trees do communicate. It's been proven that trees do communicate which with each other. Excuse me, my brain is not communicating to my tongue right now. Okay, so um, so I mean, if we can communicate so effectively with a phone, we definitely, in my opinion, can communicate just as effectively with our minds, with our hearts, with our brain, or a combination of all of them put together. All we need to do is activate that ability. Because putting a chip inside of us, which we are going to do and which is being done right now, people are going to be begging for it, because it gives them flexibility, it gives them convenience, instant communication, gives them a sense of power. Um, gives them the idea that their voices are heard. They can make a difference. We have that power already by transmitting our thoughts, transmitting our thoughts um, via our brainwave patterns, making them stronger, like boosting them through meditation. And meditation is the only way to do it. And boosting the strength of those frequencies and pushing them outwards to the people you want to communicate with, or to just the just universally, just anybody around you can pick up your thoughts if you wish. And if you don't want that, then you decrease the boosting, the power of the or the strength of the signals with your mind, basically, and you don't communicate. In other words, you pull in your power and you don't transmit as strongly. In much the same way as a cell tower, much the same way as a cell phone. You boost the power of the cell phone, you get more volume, you get more, you get more power. You can communicate in longer distances between between the cell towers. So in much the same way, we can use our bodies, which is an electrical, I wouldn't say machine, but a biological electrical casing, not a battery, but a living electrical being that our souls reside in. And we can use the power of our souls to boost the power that's running through the body and communicate using the body rather than a chip. So I tweeted yesterday about walking under a tree, and I was looking up because it's late spring, and um, and the leaves are just now coming into full bloom, and there are blooms on the trees as well. So I mean, it makes some of the trees are just beautiful. In summertime it's just all green, but in spring when it's just coming in, when the leaves are just coming in and the flowers are just coming in, it's just gorgeous. So I was just looking at the tree, which I do a lot. Um, I grew up under a tree. So, you know, um, in my next life, I'll come back as a tree. Indians believe in reincarnation. Anyway, so I was looking up at the tree and just admiring it, and I guess with all the positive vibes. And it was on a busy street. It's a main street, lots of traffic, but it's tree lined, and it was a young tree, so it was maybe about 15 feet tall. And as I was walking directly under it, um, a bird that normally don't come around, people ordinarily. There are some birds that do come around and some birds that don't as much. Um, the big birds don't come around as much. Um, but the bird came and sat on the branch directly above my head, which was maybe about 7 feet above my head. Um, and I thought, wow, it was very interesting because normally the birds fly away when you walk by. Um, it took me back to my childhood days in Trinidad. Um, I grew up in a rural district and with lots of land in the back, and spending a lot of time outdoors rather than being inside. Um, Big house, fairly big house, but I chose to spend my time outside, climbing trees and chasing butterflies and birds and chickens and uh, checking out the ants patch and the spiders and the lizards and frogs. Um, so I spent a lot of time under a mango tree, excuse me, that was probably about almost 150 years old. And one side of the hammock was tied to the mango tree, and the other side of the hammock was tied to an orange tree. And right beside the orange tree was, in Trinidad, you call them a pomerac tree. I don't believe it's called that in North America, but I don't know what the North American name is. And the pomerac tree had these beautiful blooms, pink, bright pink. And there'd be hummingbirds right above the hammock going for these blooms. Um, and they would come whether we were there close to the tree, under the tree, feet away from the tree, they would just be just above your head. There was no fear in the birds. It reminded me of that, and it made me think about some of these talks that Deepak Chopra had given, that I had listened to, that had mentioned in one of his talks, about he talks about frequencies and everything being frequencies. And in one of his talks, he said that a woman came up to him and said she talks to birds. And it just occurred to me that, I mean, I don't talk to birds, obviously, but you have to be you have to be on a certain frequency level for the birds not to feel fear and to come close to you. In a sense, that's communication. In a sense, but it reminded me of that talk that he did. You know, maybe that's what the woman said meant when she said she talks to birds. Now, if you go out on the street and you told an ordinary Canadian who was brought up in North America and who didn't have this background, this beautiful um, setting in which to grow up in, they would not understand. They would think you're nuts. They would think you're absolutely nuts. And yet, we have the technology to do it. We have the technology, excuse me, to in our bodies to talk to birds if we wanted to, and if we wanted to develop it, without getting into deeply spiritual musings and analysis and anything that will make the average North American bred person um, very very disbelieving. They will not believe. Um, they just will not believe. But if you think about the parallels between the digital technology that we have and the technology that exists naturally, biologically in our bodies, there are a lot of parallels, even if you take a scientific approach to it and not a spiritual one. Talk to you another time.